Welcome back to the channel. We're on another adventure here. The adventure is repainting this Tesla hood. This Tesla hood is a aftermarket deal, and it's a carbon fiber setup. The whole entire thing faded. It basically oxidized so bad inside the gel coat that we couldn't sand it out. In trying to sand it out, we ended up sanding through and kind of going into the carbon fiber or fiberglass a little bit. So there's a little spot here I'll show you guys in a little bit that we need to prime and sand to try to make sure that the hairs don't come up through our new paint that we're shooting at like the original color. But we got some cool stuff that we're going to be doing on this hood because you can't just shoot a stock color on a custom car. So follow us on the adventure. I'm going to show you guys this, and then I'm going to mix up some primer and we'll get to priming away. We already had my friend sand this all down and prep it all. It's been prepped with, at first we were actually hitting it with 150 grit, trying to get that fade out. We thought maybe it was the original clear, but it didn't seem to be the clear coat. We kept sanding it until we started smelling resin. I don't think this car ever had clear coat on this hood. Some companies clear coat them and some don't. Could be why it faded so bad. But we're gonna shoot it with color, do some custom stuff on it, shoot it with some clear coat, color sand and polish it. So if you ever want to know how this is going, or if you're gonna do this yourself, follow along. I'll show you how. I'll show you every step of the way, hopefully, if I don't forget to hit record. All right, come on in here. So this is what we got going here. You can see that there's an area here that looks completely different. And you actually see the carbon fiber. That's what we're going for. Here you can see how faded it is. Even wet, if you look at it, it has a gray look to it. Completely just faded, and we could not sand that out. So we're thinking that must be in the resin itself. So with carbon fiber, they use like a fiberglass or an epoxy resin that holds down the matting and makes it to where you could actually do something with the matting. Otherwise, it's just material. So this is basically where we're at. We're going to go ahead and prime this area. And all of this has been sanded, so we should be able to just do base coat on top of it. When I prime this area, I'll see how bad it is. No matter what, we're going to have to prime it, sand it, and then possibly reprime or seal. And we might do a sealer over the whole entire hood. But we're going to make sure that it's all good to go. And I got to wipe this all down anyways, so that's why I'm okay with spraying it with water. And then we'll use some cleaner on it, and we'll go from there. So first step is just rinse it off and wash it real good. I mean, you can see how faded it is. Imagine the water being the clear coat. Now that T for the Tesla was a sticker. When he first got the hood, he put a sticker on it. So you could see how much that sticker, how much it faded around that sticker. So this is where we were sanding, and we started getting it to where it looked decent, but it still wasn't right. So we're basically sanding off all the protective coating. So we're going to go ahead and clean it up, and then we'll shoot some primer. I love the fact it has vents for a trunk. Full custom trunk lid. You can see how hot it is today. I think we're like at 98 degrees right now. So this could be a fun one to do. Painting in hot weather, you have to use different reducers, and if it dries too fast, you have to worry about trapping solvents. So clear coat is actually a problem. So what we might be doing is getting up real early in the morning, because where I'm at, we cool down decently at night. So if I can get it to 75, 80, that'll be good. But painting in real hot temperatures, not always a good thing. So we let that all dry off. Now we're going to take some spray away glass cleaner. I found this stuff works pretty good. I usually use Prepol or one of the solvent-based ones, but the ammonia-free glass cleaner from Spray Away has been working great for a lot of airbrush artists and stuff, so I've started using it. And I haven't had any fish eyes or anything like that since I have, so it seems to be working. Now I'm just priming the very beginning of this area, the very front of the hood, in the two areas that we sanded the most. So I'm just going to go ahead and clean this off. And I'm just going to prime a little tiny area up here. But this is an important stage. You want to wipe it down, make sure you have all the grease and wax and oils and everything else that these cars have on them. All the contaminations. There's something going on right here too. So I'll go ahead and prime that too. Maybe a rock chip or something with the way the fibers are. Now, if we were doing this and trying to save the look of carbon fiber, you could sand it down if it wasn't faded like it did. If it was just dull, or you wanted to be able to color sand and polish it a little better, then what you could do is scuff it down like this and shoot a clear coat over the top of it. And it would kind of rejuvenate it and make it look good. But because this is faded, there's no way of saving it. And some of these, if they're clear coated, then you can actually go into the clear coat and then re-clear coat it. Or sometimes you could even color sand and polish them and not have to re-clear or do anything like that. So we're going to go ahead and mix up some primer and shoot these areas. There's a line here of something. There's this spot over here, and then our area. So let's see what we can do. We poured our primer in. Now we just have to add a little bit of catalyst. A little bit of reducer. I do not know what that spot is, but it looks like it hides it there. Our little crack that we have here, I guess it's actually a crack. I see it kind of separate a little bit, so that'll probably come back. So what we might end up doing is grinding it down a little bit and put some resin on it, but we'll see. Or whatever cool thing we do on this, maybe I'll work it into the design. So we're gonna let this sit up for about 10 minutes maybe, and then we'll shoot another coat. And coat number 2. So what's good is I'm not seeing any of the texture from the carbon fiber. So I don't think we sanded all the way into the carbon fiber, just almost. But that was real close. And this might bridge over the crack, but the crack will come back. They always do. The only way to properly stop this crack is to drill stop it. You drill little holes, grind it down, and re-glass that area. And the third coat. This is the last coat. For what we're doing, it's probably too much primer to put on, but you sand it all off anyway, so. What I want to make sure is that I don't get too much in the vents, because then we have to sand all that out. And I'd much rather, not do that. A lot of the times I'll mask off certain things that I don't want to have to sand twice or 3 times or 4 times. So I'll mask it off, prime everything, block it all out, and then unmask, sand the primer edge if there is one. Most of the time it's an area where it doesn't get that. And then when I seal, I'll seal everything. So this looks pretty good. I don't think we need any more. I don't know how much more I have left. Usually I keep on going until I run out. Enough for one more coat. Maybe we'll do one more. Maybe we won't. You'll find out soon. This definitely has to set up. I wonder if I should do the ridges. I don't know how much he sanded on the ridges. Let's do that. Let's do a coat on the ridge. That way, if he sanded too much, then it'll fix it. I just want to make sure. You can't really tell in this fiberglass stuff, so. Yes, I should be wearing a mask and all that stuff, but I really can't talk to you guys while I do that. This is such small amount that, I can actually talk to you guys while I'm doing this. We're going to let this dry probably overnight because we're kind of at the end of the day. And in the morning, we'll sand it all down. We'll guide coat it, sand it all down, and see where we're at. This could be fun. Good morning. It's a whole nother day for us. This is dried overnight. Now we're going to shoot guide coat. Now, why do we guide coat? Guide coat basically lets us have a visual of why we're doing this. It gives us visual of high and low spots. A lot of the times when you're sanding out bodywork, you can't realize this is low, this is high. You feel something is wrong, but you can't really visualize it. You can't see it. So we spray a contrasting color on it. If you're using black primer, you'd shoot white. They do have products called guide coats. I just use a flat black. And what I do is just, when it shoots, just spray a light coat on it. We're going to sand all this off, so it doesn't really matter. And what it does is, you're not trying to cover it completely in black. If you have problem areas, you can go a little bit darker. Where's another area? This was a bad area. You go a little bit darker, and then we just let it dry. Usually I'll do this the night before, and then the next morning it's good and hard. But this, since you guys are watching an edited show, it'll be like the guide coat's been drying for a while, and now we're going to go ahead and wet this is 400 grit, which is a little harsh for metallics. So we'll probably do 400, then we'll hit it with 600 just to get rid of the 400 scratches. But the rougher the sandpaper, the flatter the surface will be. The sandpaper won't really follow the texture or dent or whatever you're working with. So basically, that's all we're going to do is sand it down. Now, the water acts as a lubricant for when you're sanding. So it helps the paper not clog up. That's the main purpose behind the water. Okay, I'm going to stop that right there, because I want to be able to show you guys what this looks like. And I'm not pushing hard, I'm just letting the block kind of slide on the surface. You let the sandpaper do the cutting. Normally I like to use a squeegee because it's quick and easy. But we'll just use this towel that I had. More of a rag, it doesn't towel as good as the towel is. Okay. So this is basically what guide coat does. As you can see, all your low spots. So all these little tiny bumps are high spots. So we have to sand down the gray until the black is gone. Over here you can see where that crack is. And a low spot right here, probably from him putting his hand here, pushing down on it to shut the hood. And then the area that I said was all kind of weird and bumpy, you can see the texture that's in that. So this was already on a finished hood and sanded with 320 grit sandpaper. So you can imagine what it would look like if we just painted it. It would look really rough and bumpy and cottage cheese-like. So I'm going to go ahead and sand it until it's all gray and all the black is gone. Okay, so we're going to clean this off now and re-guide coat it. The reason why we're going to re-guide coat it is so we can watch the 400 grit sand scratches disappear when we go over it with 600 or 800. I think I'll do 600. And I'll probably end up sanding the whole entire hood. I'm not going to guide coat the whole hood, but I'm going to sand the whole entire hood just so we know more of the sand scratches that were in it are taken out. It is resin, so it does have to have a little bit more of a physical tooth over relying on chemical tooth. And the idea behind that is the primer that we use is a urethane primer. So our base coat is actually going to etch into that because it's softer. Whereas the carbon fiber, the epoxy, or the resins that are used on the carbon fiber are a lot harder. So we need more of a physical tooth, a sanded tooth, than we can rely on for chemical, if that makes any sense. If you guys struggle with anything that I'm saying or trying to teach you, please in the comments down below, let us know. So that way I know what to spend more time on, or maybe do a separate video completely on that. So let's clean this off. Let's go ahead and do a light coat of guide coat on it. That spray can is running out. They still put those dots on there where you're supposed to line it up. I guess they did. Now I'm going to bring you guys in here and kind of show you the pattern that this is sanding out at. And that'll kind of let you know that there's a whole bunch of little tiny waves and valleys. Now this should almost sand like a nice perfect straight line, because that's how the primer was sprayed. And what it's doing is it's basically bouncing all over the place. And that's because there's a low spot. Wherever the gray is still, that's a low spot. So it's high, low, high, low, high, high, low, high, low, high, high, low. Hello. Different way of saying hello. So that shows that this hood, the resin coat, is just flowing. And over on this side, you can see it too. So, and I think that even if we shot primer over the whole entire thing, blocked it out, because it's basically fiberglass, it's that type of setup, it's always going to ripple. the sun, whenever the sun gets on it, it moves a little bit. It acts more like a liquid than a solid. So, because I've done cars and boats to where I've made them like glass, and then later on, you look at it and the whole thing looks like it's just warped. So I don't spend much time on fiberglass stuff anymore. At least to block it out. We'll make the paint job look perfect though. All guide coated. And time to 600. Now I'm doing this with my hand. I probably shouldn't. The reason why is, let me find a good area to show you guys. You can sand ripples into it. So sanding with your fingers can add a high-low spot. So if you do sand by hand, make sure you're sanding mainly with your palm. You want your palm to be kind of the sanding factor and go in all different directions. I usually do a nice crisscross. But I'm gonna get a block and then we'll finish sanding this. Now I stopped for a second to kind of show you guys what I'm talking about with the sand scratches. So now you can see all the 400 grit scratches kind of showing up. Those would show up in your final paint job. 400 is not too bad. If I seal it, then we're fine. But if I just go base coat directly on top of that, these scratches would show up in your pearls and metallics. In a solid color, you'd never see them, but that's something to think about. That's why guide coating is good. Now, like I said, I like to use the glass cleaner to clean, but unlike a regular window and stuff, you can put it on and let it evaporate off. What I like doing is taking 2 towels and wiping it off. And what that does is that allows the chemical and everything to clean, bring up all the stuff on the surface. And then you take a clean towel and you re-clean it. Because otherwise, I think this would just kind of push it and smear it around. You're not really pulling it off the surface. So just as if we're using grease and wax remover, using 2 different towels, we're going to do the same with the glass cleaner. So I'm going to go ahead and wipe all this down, and then we're going to be ready to shoot a sealer. And yes, I decided to seal it because I don't trust not seeing ghosting on this primer. Even though it's sanded smooth and I can't really feel it, I don't want to take a chance. So I'm just going to go ahead and seal the whole thing. So as soon as this is done, cleaned, I'm going to mask it all off, and then we'll go from there. After we get it cleaned all off, we're going to take a tack cloth. And you don't push hard on the tack cloth, you just kind of drag it over the surface, getting all the nooks and crannies. Flip it. We should actually do this with air. The best way to tack cloth off is to apply air over the top of it. You have the sealer mixed up in the gun. Now we only have to do 1 coat of sealer. If you don't think you got it good enough, we can do 2, but this is 1 coat and I think we're good. I do not see where I did all the primer and stuff, so that's looking good. So now we're going to get ready for base coat. Now with sealer, you always want to tack it off, so you got to wait long enough for it to set up enough to tack it off. But you always want to tack it off so that way if there's any dry spray or nibs or anything like that, you can see what I'm getting off, that gray. It's not causing problems with your base coat, laying down nice and smooth. It may be a little bit too warm to spray today. Because I don't have a lot of airflow, it's not as bad, but I think we're about 106 outside. So in here it's probably 85, 90 degrees, so we should be all right. I got a reducer for that, so that's what we're using. Now we let that sit for about 5 to 10 minutes because it's so warm. Basically, as soon as it flashes off, we hit it with another coat. So we got all the base coat done, and we let it sit for about 15 minutes. I cleaned out the spray gun and got it all ready. I mixed up some clear, and we're going to do 2 light coats of clear on this, maybe medium. The purpose of that is to seal in the base coat that we've done and give us a protection layer for me doing my graphics. So what I'm going to do is shoot down clear. We're going to let that dry overnight, and then we're going to scuff it all. And then I'll do all my airbrush work, and then we'll clear coat that, and then we can color sand and polish it. So once this sets up enough to where we can tack cloth it, should be pretty much good to go. We can tack cloth it and start shooting our clear. All right, that's the end of part 1. So this is a 3-part series because we ended up doing the airbrushing in another part, and then the color sanding and polishing in another part. So this is kind of the conclusion of where you'd normally leave off. Then you could skip to part 3, which is color sand and polishing, if you weren't going to do any graphics or airbrushing on this. But since we're doing all that, head over to part 2 and check it out. It's going to be a good video.